The last person to call me sweetheart at my grandfather's funeral was my Uncle Reagan, right after he finished his crocodile tear eulogy. I wanted to throw my black heel straight at his temple. My name is Cynthia, and I was Harold Sutton's favourite disappointment, at least according to the whispers at family gatherings. The girl who chose interior design over real engineering. The one who wore vintage dresses to construction sites. The granddaughter who'd never understand the family business, if they only knew. Such a shame about Harold, Reagan's voice carried across the funeral home's reception area. But the old man was stuck in his ways. Sutton Heights needs modernisation, and that means liquidation. I pretended to arrange flowers while my uncle continued talking to Gregory, his younger yes-man brother. They never bothered lowering their voices around me. Why would they? I was just the decorating girl. The shareholders' meeting is in 6 weeks, Gregory replied, swirling his whiskey. We'll have the votes by then. Clean sale, quick profit, everyone wins. Except the workers, I muttered under my breath. Did you say something, sweetheart? Reagan's condescending smile made my skin crawl. Just agreeing what a shame it is, I forced a sad smile. Grandpa loved this company so much. That's business, dear. Speaking of which, we'll need you to clear out his office by Friday. You can keep his little knick-knacks, of course. I nodded demurely, thinking about the MBA hidden in my desk drawer and the engineering degree I'd earned in secret. About the nights Grandpa Harold spent teaching me every aspect of the business, preparing me while everyone else dismissed me as his sentimental favourite. Miss Cynthia? A gentle voice interrupted my thoughts. Ramona, Grandpa's secretary of 30 years, stood beside me with red-rimmed eyes. Could you come with me? There's something your grandfather wanted you to have. We slipped away to Harold's office, where Ramona pulled an envelope from her desk. He made me promise to give this to you today, only you. The envelope felt heavy in my hands. Inside was a key, a USB drive, and a letter in my grandfather's precise handwriting. My dearest Cynthia, they'll come for it all. Let them try. Remember everything I taught you about foundations. The deeper they go, the stronger they hold. You've built yours in silence, away from their eyes. Now it's time. The key opens the safe in my lake house study. The drive contains everything else you'll need. Make them remember why I chose you. All my love, Harold. He knew, I whispered, looking up at Ramona. He knew what they were planning. Ramona's smile turned shrewd. Your grandfather knew a lot of things, like how Reagan's been embezzling for years, or how Gregory's been falsifying safety reports. My hand tightened around the letter. You have proof. I'm just a secretary, dear. I only know what I've overheard. She winked. But everything important goes through my desk eventually. Through the office window I could see my uncles, glad-handing with board members, probably already dividing up the spoils. Sean, Reagan's entitled son, was bragging about which yacht he'd buy with his share. They think I'm grieving, I said quietly. They think I'm weak. Yes, Ramona replied, that's your advantage. I smoothed my black dress and tucked the letter away. In my mind, I could hear Grandpa's voice from our secret lessons. The best structural support often stays invisible, Cynthia. Let them see the shine and polish. They'll never notice the steel beneath. Ramona touched my arm. What are you going to do? I watched Reagan laugh with Chandler Hall, the corrupt board member who'd been helping tank our stock price. They looked so confident, so certain of their victory. They had no idea what was coming. I'm going to do exactly what they expect, I said, letting my voice waver just slightly. I'm going to cry, pack up Grandpa's office and disappear for a while, and then, I thought about the engineering plans I'd updated, the workers whose jobs were at stake, and the legacy my grandfather had entrusted to me. 6 weeks until the shareholders' meeting. 6 weeks to destroy everything my uncles had plotted. And then I'm going to bury them under their own greed. Ramona's smile widened. Your grandfather would be so proud. I stepped back into the reception area, carefully wiping away a tear that wasn't entirely fake. After all, I was mourning something, the last shred of mercy I might have shown them. Reagan caught my eye and raised his glass in mock sympathy. I gave him my best helpless smile, already calculating how many shares I could buy through shell companies before he noticed. Let them think I'm broken. Let them think I'm lost. They'll learn soon enough what Harold Sutton's real legacy looks like. 3 days after the funeral, I walked into Sutton Heights construction headquarters wearing my most harmless outfit, a pastel blue dress and kitten heels. The security guard barely glanced at my ID. Why would he? I was just Harold's grieving granddaughter, here to clean out his office. "Need any help carrying boxes, miss?" he offered. "Oh, that's so sweet of you," I smiled, channeling my best Elle Woods, "but I think I can manage." The executive floor was empty at 7 a.m., exactly as planned. I let myself into Grandpa's office and locked the door. Within minutes I had his computer booted up and was connecting the USB drive Ramona had given me. My phone buzzed. A text from Amara. "Meeting our friend in 90 minutes, don't be late." I typed back. "Almost done here. Did you get the blueprints?" "All of them. Your uncles are idiots. They never changed the password to the digital archive." I smiled, copying files while scanning through emails. Reagan and Gregory had been busy. Dozens of correspondence with private equity firms, each one low-balling the company's value more than the last. A knock at the door made me freeze. "Cynthia, is that you?" Ramona's voice. I quickly minimized the screens. "Come in." She slipped inside carrying coffee. "Thought you might need this. Also, heads up, Reagan's coming in early today. Board meeting at 9. Perfect timing. I found what we needed." I showed her an email thread about falsified safety reports. "They've been cutting corners on materials for years." "Those bastards," Ramona muttered. "Your grandfather suspected, but could never prove it." "Now we can." I finished the file transfer and shut everything down. "How's our other project going?" Ramona's eyes sparkled. 3 more long-time employees reached out. They're ready to help, especially after hearing about the layoff plans. "Good. We'll need their testimonies." I started packing random items into boxes, making it look like I'd been reminiscing instead of gathering ammunition. The elevator dinged outside. Footsteps approached. "Right on schedule," Ramona whispered, grabbing a tissue. When Reagan appeared in the doorway, we were both dabbing our eyes. "Still here?" he frowned. "We need this office cleared by noon. Board members are touring potential buyers." I sniffled convincingly. "Sorry, Uncle Reagan, just finding it harder than I thought." Yes, very sad. Now hurry up." He paused. "And Cynthia, don't forget to leave the key fobs and building passes with security." I nodded meekly, waiting until he left before standing straighter. "Ramona, make sure everyone knows I turned in my access, but—" "Don't worry," she winked. "I already made copies." 40 minutes later, I walked into a small cafe downtown. Amara waved from a corner booth, sitting beside a man I didn't recognize. "Cynthia, meet Ellis Blair. He's our way in." Ellis stood, offering his hand. Tall, sharp suit, calculating eyes. "Venture capital," he explained. "Amara tells me you're looking to raise some serious money. Quietly." "Very quietly," I confirmed, sliding into the booth. "How much do you know?" "That Sutton Heights is undervalued by at least 40%. That your uncles are trying to sell it for parts, and that you," he smiled, "are not at all what you seem." I matched his stare. "And why should I trust you?" "Because I hate watching good companies die for quick profit, because your grandfather's infrastructure innovations deserved better." He leaned forward. "And because I've spent 2 weeks investigating you, Cynthia, the secret degrees, the patents filed under pseudonyms, very clever." "If you found those—" "Your uncles won't," Amara cut in. "They're not looking. Ellis can help us set up the shell companies for stock purchase. Clean, untraceable." I studied him carefully. "What's your angle?" "Besides a healthy return on investment?" Ellis shrugged. "Let's say I enjoy watching arrogant men lose to opponents they underestimated." My phone buzzed again, an alert from the monitoring software I'd installed. "Speaking of which, Reagan just sent an email to the board. They're moving up the timeline, voting in 4 weeks, not 6. "Then we move faster," Amara said firmly. Ellis has the capital ready. I've got 15 employees willing to sell us their shares quietly, and Ramona has everything we need to prove the fraud, I finished. But we have to be careful. One wrong move. And they'll realise the ghost in their machine wears vintage dresses? Ellis smiled. Don't worry, by the time they figure it out, it'll be too late. I pulled out my grandfather's plans for modular housing developments, projects Reagan had killed for being too innovative. These are brilliant, Ellis murmured, studying them, with proper funding. They'll revolutionise affordable housing, I nodded. That's the real legacy they're trying to destroy. Amara squeezed my hand. Not if we stop them first. My phone lit up again. This time it was Reagan's personal email. 2 board members. Subject: anonymous stock purchases. Investigation needed. I showed it to the others, smiling. Looks like they're finally noticing the ghost. Good, Ellis said. Let them chase shadows while we take their company right out from under them. You're becoming just like them, my sister Kinley spat, pacing my apartment. All these secret meetings, backdoor deals. What happened to the sister who used to cry over displaced families in development zones? I kept my eyes on the leather-bound book in my lap, Grandpa's legacy ledger, finally retrieved from his lake house safe. She grew up and learned how the game is played. The game? Kinley laughed bitterly. Is that what we're calling corporate takeovers now? Look at this! I pushed the ledger toward her. Grandpa's real vision: affordable housing projects, community-focused development, green technology integration, everything Reagan killed because it wasn't profitable enough. Kinley paused her pacing, but didn't take the book. And you think you can do better? A knock at the door saved me from answering. Amara entered, followed by Ellis and Ramona. Their expressions told me everything. How bad? I asked. Reagan's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow, Amara said, dropping a stack of papers on my coffee table. They're voting on an acquisition offer from Maxwell Development Group. Maxwell? Kinley interrupted. They're notorious for destroying companies and firing everyone. Exactly, Ellis nodded. They'll gut Sutton Heights, sell the assets, and leave 300 families without jobs. I flipped through the papers, my anger rising. These projections are deliberately pessimistic. They're painting us as a failing company to justify the fire sale. That's not all, Ramona added. I overheard Gregory on the phone. They're offering board members personal kickbacks for yes votes. Kinley sank onto my couch. Jesus, our own uncles. Now, do you understand? I turned to her. This isn't about revenge. It's about saving what Grandpa built. We have good news too, Ellis said, pulling out his laptop. The shell companies are in place. We've secured 42% of shares. One more week, we'll have controlling interest. And the workers? I asked. Amara grinned. 25 more agreed to sell to us after hearing about Maxwell. Plus, I found something interesting in the union contracts. She spread out more documents. My eyes widened as I read. A clause requiring worker approval for any ownership change. Reagan forgot it existed, Ramona chuckled. Your grandfather insisted on it years ago. This is insane, Kinley muttered. You're really going to take over the company? No, I corrected her. We're going to save it. My phone rang. Reagan's number. I put it on speaker. Cynthia, dear, his voice oozed false concern. We need you at tomorrow's board meeting. Just some routine paperwork about your grandfather's shares. I caught Ellis's warning look. Play dumb. Oh, I don't know, Uncle Reagan. It's still hard being in the office. It's important, sweetheart. Family obligation. Well, okay. What time? After he hung up, Amara burst out laughing. He actually thinks you'll sign over your shares. Let him think that, Ellis advised. In fact, he pulled out another document. Sign this instead. I read it carefully. A counteroffer to Maxwell? Through your firm? Higher price, but contingent on keeping current workforce and management structure. Ellis smiled. It'll force them to reveal their true motives when they reject it. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Kinley said quietly. I looked at my sister. Almost. But I need one more thing. What? You. I handed her the legacy ledger. Read it, all of it. Then tell me if I'm really becoming like them. The room fell silent as Kinley opened the book. Minutes passed as she read, her expression changing. There's a letter here, she finally said, to both of us. I nodded. Grandpa knew this day would come. He knew they'd try to destroy everything he built. And he trained you in secret, Kinley's voice cracked. While I was busy hating the whole family, you were learning to save it. It's not too late, I said softly. I could use a strong HR director, someone who actually cares about the workers. Kinley looked up sharply. Me? Who better to protect employees than someone who's seen the worst of corporate greed? She was quiet for a long moment. Then, that clause about worker approval, you'll need someone to organise the vote. Is that a yes? Instead of answering, Kinley pulled out her phone. I still have contacts in the union. Give me an hour. As she stepped out to make calls, Ellis touched my arm. You know tomorrow won't be easy. Reagan won't go down without a fight. Good, I said, watching my sister work. Because neither will we. Ramona picked up the legacy ledger, smiling at Grandpa's handwriting. They never did understand what makes a true empire. It's not about profits. It's about people, I finished. And tomorrow they'll learn that lesson the hard way. The boardroom fell silent as Chandler Hall finished his presentation. In conclusion, given our financial position, immediate liquidation through Maxwell's offer is our only viable option. I sat quietly in my designated corner, playing the role of the dutiful granddaughter. Reagan hadn't even bothered giving me a seat at the main table. Questions? Chandler asked, his smile smug. Just one. I raised my hand, voice deliberately soft. Could you explain why the projection models exclude our new patents? The room shifted uncomfortably. Reagan shot me a warning look. I'm sorry? Chandler blinked. The modular housing patents, I continued, standing slowly. Grandfather's final projects, they're worth millions, but your valuation doesn't mention them. Those experimental designs, Gregory scoffed, worthless pipe dreams. I pulled out my tablet. Actually, I have proof of 3 major developers interested in licensing them. Shall I share the emails? Reagan's face reddened. Cynthia, you're here as a courtesy. This discussion is beyond my understanding. I smiled. Like the falsified safety reports were beyond my understanding. The room went dead quiet. Chandler's smug expression cracked slightly. Or perhaps, I continued, walking to the main table, we should discuss the kickbacks being offered to board members for yes votes. I have those emails too. That's enough, Reagan stood, fists clenched. Security will escort you out. Try it, I said calmly. I'm still a shareholder. Removing me from a board meeting would violate at least 3 corporate bylaws. Speaking of shareholding, a new voice called from the doorway. Ellis stepped in, briefcase in hand. I believe this meeting has another interested party. Who the hell are you? Gregory demanded. Ellis Blair, representing Summit Ventures. We've acquired a significant position in Sutton Heights and have a counter-offer to Maxwell's proposal. Reagan laughed sharply. There haven't been any major share purchases. We've been monitoring. Through official channels, yes, Ellis agreed, but private sales are harder to track. Isn't that right, Chandler? Chandler's face went pale. Last week, he'd secretly sold his shares to one of our shell companies, thinking he was outsmarting Reagan. How significant? Someone asked. 38%, I answered, enjoying Reagan's shocked expression. Plus my inherited shares makes 43. Impossible, Reagan whispered. Would you like to see the certification? Ellis opened his briefcase. Or should we discuss Summit's offer? Unlike Maxwell, we're committed to maintaining current employment levels and— This meeting is adjourned, Reagan shouted. Actually, I pressed a button on my phone. It's being recorded, for regulatory compliance, of course. Chandler stood abruptly. Private discussion. Now. He practically dragged me into a side office, slamming the door. His fake smile vanished. "Listen here, you little bitch," he hissed. "You have no idea what you're playing with. One phone call and I can—" "What?" I interrupted. "Expose your insider trading, the kickbacks, the safety violations that could have killed workers?" He stepped closer, trying to intimidate. "You think you can run a construction empire? You're nothing but a spoiled princess playing dress-up." I held his gaze. "Funny. That's exactly what you told my grandfather when he caught you embezzling in 19, before he gave you a second chance." Chandler's face went from red to white. "How did you—" "I know everything, Chandler. Every dirty deal, every bribe, every accounting error that somehow lined your pockets." "You're bluffing." I pulled out my phone, played a recording, his voice discussing kickbacks with Reagan. "Still think I'm bluffing? The SEC would love this, so would the press." I stepped closer. "But I'm giving you the same choice Grandpa gave you. Walk away now, resign quietly, or I'll bury you." "You wouldn't dare." "Try me. I've spent years being underestimated by men like you. It stops today." The door opened. Ellis stood there with Ramona and two people in suits. "Mr. Hall," one said, "we're from the company's external audit committee. We'd like to ask you some questions." Chandler's shoulders sagged. He knew it was over. "You'll regret this," he muttered as he passed me. "No," I replied. "You already do." Back in the boardroom, Reagan was frantically whispering with Gregory. They fell silent when I entered. "The meeting continues," I announced. "Now, about Summit's offer." "This isn't over," Reagan snarled. "You're right," I agreed, taking Chandler's vacant seat. "We still need to discuss the union vote requirement for ownership changes. Kinley, would you like to present the workers' position?" My sister stepped in, holding a stack of signed petitions. Reagan's face showed the first hint of real fear. He finally understood. I hadn't just outmaneuvered him, I had outplanned him, and this was just the beginning. "You're turning into a monster," Kinley said, her voice breaking as she threw the newspaper on my desk. The headline screamed, "Chandler Hall arrested on fraud charges." "I didn't make him commit fraud," I replied, not looking up from my laptop. "His kids are in my daughter's class, Cynthia. Do you know what this is doing to his family?" That made me stop. I finally met my sister's eyes. Like Reagan cared about our family when he tried to destroy everything Grandpa built? "That's my point!" Kinley slammed her hands on the desk. "You sound exactly like him now, justifying cruelty with business logic." The truth in her words stung. Before I could respond, Amara burst into the office. "Reagan's making moves," she announced. "Big ones." I straightened. "What kind?" "He's filed a legal challenge to Grandpa's will. Claims you manipulated Harold in his final months. He's got 3 witnesses ready to testify you coerced him." "That's insane," Kinley interrupted. "Grandpa was sharp until the end." "Doesn't matter," I said, pulling up my emails. "A legal battle could delay the shareholder vote, give them time to find more buyers." "There's more," Amara continued. "Gregory's wife just withdrew $2 million from their joint accounts. They're preparing for war." My phone buzzed. Ellis calling. I put him on speaker. "Reagan's reached out to Maxwell again," he reported, "offering to sell his remaining shares at a premium if they'll fight the union clause." "Can they?" Kinley asked. "Not legally," I said. "But a court challenge could tie us up for months." "During which they'll strip every asset they can," Amara added grimly. I stood, walking to the window overlooking the construction yard. Workers were gathering for their shift, families depending on those jobs, on Grandpa's promise. "Cynthia," Ellis's voice was gentle, "we need to decide. Do we hit back hard now, or—" "Tell me something," I interrupted. "When does justice become vengeance? When does winning cost too much?" The room fell silent. Kinley moved beside me. "Remember when we were kids?" she asked softly. "That summer Grandpa took us to every construction site. He didn't just show us buildings, he showed us the families who lived in them, the communities they created." I remember. "That's what they're trying to destroy. Not just a company, but homes, jobs, futures." She touched my arm. Maybe the real question isn't whether you're becoming like them, it's whether you're willing to be tough enough to stop them. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ramona. Reagan in lobby with lawyers. Coming up. Time to choose, Amara said quietly. I turned from the window. Ellis, how quickly can you get those witness statements about Reagan's embezzlement to the DA? Within the hour. Do it! Amara, leak the safety report evidence to the press. All of it. And Gregory? She asked. I thought of his wife, withdrawing their money. At least she was smart enough to see what was coming. Leave him, I decided. He's just a follower. Without Reagan, he'll fold. You're really doing this? Kinley whispered. No, I corrected her. We are, if you're still with me. She studied me for a long moment. What do you need? Get the union reps together, today. Show them everything. The Maxwell deal, the layoff plans, all of it. Make sure they understand what's at stake. The elevator dinged outside. Footsteps approached. Ellis, I said quickly, send everything to my lawyer too. If Reagan wants a legal battle, he'll get one, Ellis finished. I'm on it. The door burst open. Reagan stood there with 2 suits, his face twisted with rage. You think you've won? He snarled. I built this company while you were playing with dollhouses. No, I replied calmly. Grandpa built this company. You just tried to steal it. We'll see what the courts say about your manipulation of a sick old man. Interesting strategy. I picked up a folder from my desk, especially given these signed statements from Grandpa's doctors and his lawyer and, I smiled, his secretary. Reagan's face reddened. You little... Careful, Kinley cut in. Everything in this office is recorded for regulatory compliance, remember? One of the lawyers touched Reagan's arm, whispering something. His shoulders sagged slightly. This isn't over, he growled. Actually, it is. I nodded to Amara, who pressed a button on her phone. The DA has everything. So does the press. You have about an hour before it all goes public. You'd destroy your own uncle. You did that yourself, Kinley answered. She's just making sure you don't destroy everyone else too. Reagan stormed out, lawyers trailing behind. In the silence that followed, I sank into my chair. You okay? Amara asked softly. I looked at Kinley, saw understanding in her eyes. No, I admitted. But sometimes being okay isn't the point. What is? Being right. My phone lit up with news alerts. The storm was breaking. It was too late to turn back now. The press is calling it the Sutton scandal, Amara said, scrolling through her tablet. Reagan's face is on every business news channel. I barely heard her, focused on the blueprints spread across my grandfather's old desk. My desk now. The modular housing project would revolutionize affordable living, but the numbers had to be perfect. Cynthia? Ellis's voice pulled me back. The shareholders' meeting is tomorrow. We need to finalize the plan. Right. The final battle. 1 week of chaos had followed Reagan's arrest. Gregory had fled to his beach house, refusing all calls. Board members were scrambling to distance themselves from the scandal. Walk me through it again, I said. Ellis laid out documents. We control 58% of shares now. The union vote is secured thanks to Kinley. Your appointment as CEO is practically guaranteed. Unless they have something else planned, Amara warned. My phone buzzed. Ramona. Emergency. Come to the archive room, now. What is it? Ellis asked, seeing my expression change. Not sure. Keep working on the presentation. I'll be back. The archive room was in the basement, filled with decades of paper records. Ramona stood by a filing cabinet, face pale. Look at this, she thrust a folder at me, found it behind old tax records. Inside was a contract from 1985, signed by my grandfather, and my breath caught. A secret partnership agreement, I whispered. Ramona nodded grimly. With Maxwell Development Group, your grandfather sold them first rights to acquire Sutton Heights if it ever went to market. That's why they've been so confident, I realised. Reagan wasn't just being greedy, he was fulfilling a legal obligation, one that could override shareholder votes. My hands shook. All our planning, all the sacrifices, and one dusty contract could destroy everything. "How long have you known?" I asked quietly. "I just found it, but—" Ramona hesitated. "I think your grandfather left it for you to find." "What do you mean?" She pointed to a post-it note stuck to the back page, in Harold's handwriting. "The strongest foundations are built on truth, not power." My phone buzzed again. Ellis calling. I ignored it. "He knew," I said softly. "He knew about Maxwell's rights all along. This was another test." "What are you going to do?" Before I could answer, footsteps echoed down the stairs. Ellis appeared, looking worried. "There you are. We've got trouble. Maxwell's CEO is demanding a meeting. Now." 20 minutes later, I sat across from James Maxwell himself in our main conference room. He was younger than I expected, sharp-eyed and dangerous. "Impressive game you've played," he said, sliding the 1985 contract across the table, "but ultimately futile." "How long have you known about this?" I asked. "Since the beginning. Reagan was quite helpful in bringing it to our attention." He smiled thinly. "Though I admit, watching you outmaneuver him was entertaining." "And now?" "Now you have a choice. Fight this in court for years while the company bleeds out, or—" He pulled out another document. "Accept our original offer, with one addition." I read the terms. "You want me to stay on as CEO? You've proven yourself capable, ruthless when necessary. We could use someone like you to help dismantle my grandfather's legacy, to help build something bigger." He leaned forward. "Think about it. Resources, expansion, real power. Isn't that what this was all about?" I stood slowly, walking to the window. Below, construction crews were starting their day shift. Families depending on us. Communities trusting us. "No," I said finally. "That's what Reagan thought it was about." "Then what?" I turned back, pulling out my own folder. "This is our counter-proposal. Maxwell gets first rights on all new projects, joint ventures instead of acquisition. We maintain workforce and operational independence." "Why would we agree to that?" "Because those modular housing patents you want, they're just the beginning. I've got 5 more innovations in development. Partner with us and you get access to all of them." He studied me carefully. "You planned this too, didn't you? Even before finding the contract?" "I learned from the best." I smiled. "Grandpa always said, in business, everyone needs a win." Maxwell read through the proposal, face unreadable. Finally, "Your grandfather would be proud. Does that mean we have a deal?" He stood, offering his hand. "Welcome to the future, Miss Sutton." After he left, Ellis and Amara rushed in. "Did we just win?" Amara asked incredulously. I looked at the signed partnership agreement. Not a victory through destruction, but through creation. Grandpa would definitely approve. "We did better," I said. "We proved them all wrong. A woman can't run a construction empire." Ellis grinned. "Watch her build a bigger one." The shareholders' meeting room buzzed with tension. Every seat was filled. Board members, investors, union representatives, even some construction foremen in their work boots. Reagan's empty chair spoke volumes. Gregory huddled with his lawyers in the corner, looking like he'd aged 10 years in a week. His wife had taken their kids to Europe. Smart woman. "Ready?" Ellis whispered beside me. I smoothed my vintage dress, the same one I'd worn to Grandpa's funeral. "Born ready." The board chairman called the meeting to order. "First item, voting on the Maxwell acquisition offer." "Point of order," I stood. "That offer has been withdrawn." Murmurs rippled through the room. Gregory's head snapped up. "Withdrawn?" The chairman frowned. "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that Maxwell Development Group has entered a different arrangement." I nodded to Ellis, who started distributing packets. "A strategic partnership that maintains Sutton Heights independence while expanding our capabilities." "This is irregular," one of Gregory's lawyers protested. So is conspiracy to defraud shareholders, Kinley called from the back. Should we discuss that instead? The lawyer sat down quickly. The partnership agreement is already signed, I continued, which brings us to the next item, leadership succession. Gregory finally found his voice. You can't possibly. Actually, she can, Ellis interrupted, standing. Summit Ventures controls 58% of shares. We're voting for new leadership. Today. This is a coup, Gregory sputtered. No, I corrected him. This is karma. The chairman cleared his throat. Those in favour of appointing Cynthia Sutton as Chief Executive Officer? Hands rose across the room. Union reps, long-time employees, board members who'd seen which way the wind was blowing. Motion carries, the chairman announced. Congratulations, Miss Sutton. I moved to the podium, feeling Grandpa's presence in every step. Thank you. Before we continue, I'd like to share our vision for Sutton Heights' future. I clicked to the first slide. Starting with our modular housing initiative. This is ridiculous, Gregory stood abruptly. She's not qualified. She's just a... Just what? I asked softly. A woman? An interior designer? I pulled out my MBA and engineering degrees. Or maybe you meant a threat you never saw coming. The room fell silent. For years, you and Reagan dismissed me, ignored me, treated me like a silly girl playing in Grandpa's shadow. That was your first mistake. I clicked to the next slide. Photos of unsafe construction sites, falsified reports. Your second mistake was thinking profit matters more than people. These violations could have killed workers, our workers, families who trusted us. Gregory sank back into his chair. Your third mistake? I smiled. Believing you built this company. You didn't. The people in this room did. The crews on our sites did. Grandpa did. And now... Now what? Someone asked. Now we build something better. Sustainable housing projects, fair wages, innovation that serves communities, not just shareholders. I gestured to Kinley, who stood. My sister is our new head of human resources. She'll oversee a complete overhaul of worker safety and benefits. Applause from the union reps. Amara Hopkins joins us as Chief Operations Officer. Ellis Blair becomes our Strategic Partnership Director. And as for the old guard... I turned to Gregory. You have two choices. Resign quietly and cooperate with the fraud investigation, or face charges like Reagan. Your decision. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, without a word, he stood and walked out. Now, I continued, let's talk about the future. The next hour was a blur of votes, signatures, and congratulations. When it finally ended, I found myself alone in Grandpa's office, my office, staring at his photo. A knock at the door. Ellis entered with champagne. Quite a show, he said, pouring 2 glasses. The press is going crazy. Female CEO saves family empire. That sort of thing. Is that what I did? I asked quietly. Save it, or just win at their game? Both, maybe. He handed me a glass. Having doubts? Gregory's face when he left. Reagan's arrest. Their families. They made their choices, Ellis said firmly. You just made them face consequences. And what about my choices? The secrets, the manipulation? The difference is your goal. He touched my arm. They wanted to destroy. You wanted to build. My phone buzzed. Kinley sending photos from the construction site. Workers celebrating. Families hugging. Besides, Ellis continued, your story's just beginning. The real test isn't winning power. It's how you use it, I finished. He raised his glass. To the new Sutton Heights. I looked at Grandpa's photo once more, then turned to the window. The sun was setting over our construction sites, casting long shadows. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight we celebrated foundations built not just of steel and concrete, but of justice, redemption, and hope. To the future, I replied, clinking my glass with his. A future I'd fought for, won, and would now have to prove I deserved. The morning sun glinted off the first modular housing unit as the crane lifted it into place. Workers cheered, families watched, and cameras flashed. Our flagship affordable housing project was becoming reality. "Speech time," Kinley nudged me. "They're waiting." I stepped onto the makeshift platform, facing the crowd. Residents of the old neighbourhood stood mixed with construction crews and reporters. This wasn't just a photo op, it was a promise kept. When my grandfather started Sutton Heights, I began, he believed construction wasn't just about buildings, it was about building futures. Movement at the back caught my eye. Gregory stood there, thinner now, watching silently. Our eyes met briefly before he turned away. Today, we're not just placing the first unit, we're laying a foundation for change, affordable homes built to last, jobs that pay fair wages, a community rising together. More cheers. I spotted Ramona wiping tears, Amara grinning proudly, Ellis nodding in approval. But first, I continued, I need to share something personal. The crowd quieted. Last night I found this in my grandfather's old desk. I held up a worn envelope, a letter he wrote the day he decided to train me in secret. I'd like to read it. My hands shook slightly as I opened it. "Dearest Cynthia, by now you've either saved our legacy or lost it trying. Either way, I owe you the truth. I didn't choose you because you were smarter than Reagan or stronger than Gregory. I chose you because you cried when we had to demolish that old neighbourhood for the mall project, because you asked about the families we displaced. Power isn't the goal, dear one. It's a tool. Use it to build something worthy of the cost. All my love, Harold." I looked up, blinking back tears. He was right. Power isn't the point, this is. I gestured to the families watching their future homes rise. Every unit here is reserved for residents of the old neighbourhood. No one displaced, no communities destroyed, just progress that lifts everyone. More cheers. A small girl in the front row waved excitedly at the building that would become her home. "And one more thing," I added. "Starting today, Sutton Heights is launching a training programme for women in construction and engineering. Full scholarships, guaranteed jobs. Because talent doesn't care about gender." The applause was deafening. Kinley squeezed my hand as I stepped down. "He'd be so proud," she whispered. A commotion near the back. Gregory approaching. Security tensed, but I waved them off. "Nice speech," he said gruffly. Harold always did love his grand gestures. "What do you want?" "To say you were right." He looked older, humbled. "About everything. Reagan's the one facing prison, but we were both wrong. About you. About what this company means." "Is that an apology?" "It's a goodbye. I'm moving west, starting over." He hesitated. "The workers here, they seem happy. They have stake in the company now, profit-sharing, benefits. Amazing what happens when you treat people like assets instead of expenses." He nodded slowly. "Your grandfather built something special. I forgot that somewhere along the way. It's not too late to remember. Maybe." He turned to leave, then stopped. "That training program for women. It's good, really good." After he left, Ellis appeared at my side. "You okay?" "Better than okay." I watched the second unit being lifted. This feels right, like everything led to this moment. Speaking of moments, he shifted nervously. "Remember our first meeting at that cafe? When you were investigating me?" "I wasn't just investigating the company." He pulled out a small box. "I was looking for someone who could build something extraordinary, in business, and maybe in life." My heart stopped. "Ellis, I'm not proposing, not yet, but I am offering a partnership. Personal, not just professional, if you're interested." Before I could answer, Amara rushed up. "Sorry to interrupt, but the mayor's here for the ribbon cutting." I looked at Ellis, at the box, at the hope in his eyes. "Hold that thought. We've got futures to build first." He grinned. "I'm not going anywhere." The mayor waited by the ceremonial ribbon, scissors ready. Beyond him, cranes lifted more units into place, more homes, more chances, More proof that the strongest foundations are built on hope, not fear. Ready? Kinley asked. I took the scissors, thinking of Grandpa's letter, of Reagan's downfall, of Gregory's redemption, of all the battles fought and won. But mostly I thought of that little girl's wave, of families getting homes, of women entering training programs, of workers sharing in success. Ready, I said, and cut the ribbon. The crowd erupted, a new chapter beginning, not just for me or Sutton Heights, but for everyone we touched. I smiled, hard hat on, boots planted firmly. Let's break ground.